Hello, everybody. This is attorney Justin Lovely with the Lovely Law Firm. I'm here with a special report of the Carolina Justice Report, a special edition with our associate, Sarah Austin. Sarah, unfortunately, was diagnosed with COVID-19, and luckily she has recovered. But she has some insight and a great story to tell. And we've been covering for her, the last couple of weeks while she's been getting over this illness. But there's a lot of misinformation out there with the local media, and every time you turn the TV on or search the internet, something scary pops up. So we wanted just to kind of interview Sarah today and let her tell her story, and I'll ask her some questions and she can kind of fill us in so everybody can kind of know what to expect if unfortunately this happens to you or a member of your family. Now, don't take this as medical advice. We're not doctors. We're just your lawyers. And for the purpose of this video cast and podcast, just take it for what it's worth. If you're having any kind of symptoms or anything, of course, use telehealth. Go to the doctor. Don't rely on our story. It's just one instance of many. But we still think it'll be a benefit to our audience to get this story out. So, Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Justin?
Doing good. Are you feeling better?
I'm feeling much better, thankfully.
Cool deal. And if you got a cough, go for it. All right, because we're far, far away. So we quit. We went full remote around March 15th from our office, and I sent everybody home, and we all started working from home. And we do our daily check-ins with our video cast and everything, and email, and then. It was about a week or so, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a week or so later, a couple of weeks later, 1st of April, you fill me in, correct the dates, but you started feeling sick. Just start telling your story from there, and we'll kind of go from there and talk our way through it.
Yeah, so I think it was a week or two after we started working from home. I just started getting a scratchy throat. There was a bunch of pollen. I don't know if you remember. I was having a scratchy throat, I think, the whole month of February and March. So I didn't think much of it. And then 2 days later, I think it was a Monday, my throat started feeling scratchy. 2 days later, I was totally out. My body was weak. I was waking up in the middle of the night with body aches. And then I started to develop the COVID cough that everybody reads about all the time.
It hit you like in 2 days?
Yeah, it went from a scratchy throat. And then 2 days later that night, it was like 48 hours later, I think almost. It hits you pretty quick. So a lot of people are asking, like, they'll text me like, oh, my chest is tight. My friends who know I have it, and they'll be like, do I have it? And there's no really way to describe it besides, like, if you've got COVID, you're going to know that you've got COVID unless you're asymptomatic.
So you had a scratchy throat. What other symptoms did you have?
I started to develop the chest tightness and the cough. For me, the body aches were the most surprising. I think they're the most underplayed on the news. You'd wake up in the middle of my body aches would wake me up in the middle of the night. You just can't get comfortable and nothing really helps. I didn't have a fever. I was lucky that I didn't have a fever. I guess my symptoms were kind of mild compared to what you read about, but it still wasn't a mild experience. It was still pretty tough. And then the cough and the chest tightness.
Were you taking any medicine, like over-the-counter stuff?
Just Tylenol. They actually said not to take ibuprofen. I guess ibuprofen was having a bad reaction to the virus. And they said just take Tylenol for the body aches because I didn't have a fever, so they weren't worried about that. But that's all that they can really do. What really helped me the most, and I know my friends call me like the Vicks sponsor, but Vicks Vapor Rub, the Vicks Vaporizer, you can kind of like steam out your lungs.
Yeah.
That made me feel a lot better. And I think helped me get better quicker.
Okay, so you started feeling it, 48 hours, it really hit you hard. Then what happened? I mean, I know you were texting us and we were in contact the whole time, but when did you decide, hey, I got to talk to a doctor, and what did you do?
Yeah, so I started feeling, is that Monday? I started feeling scratchy throat. That Wednesday, I was body aches and things like that. And then it was that next Friday. So everything was like every 2 days, it feels like it got worse. That Friday, it was like 3 a.m. and the body aches woke me up. And I have an aunt who's an ER nurse, and she kind of explained that she works in Pennsylvania. So she had me under the impression that I would telehealth a doctor because I don't have a primary care doctor. they would send me for a test. I would get a chest x-ray when I went to get the chest, and then they would decide if I needed to go to the hospital or not based on the chest x-ray, because the COVID test takes a little while to come back. So I telehealth the doctor that Friday night, because the body aches were so bad, and I was just on the internet and reading all the symptoms of COVID, and I started feeling like I had it, but I didn't have the fever. So I was like, is it possible to have it without a fever? And it turns out it definitely is. And so that night I telehealth a doctor, and the doctor pretty much said there's nothing that they can do for me. She said, well, do you have shortness of breath?
Wow.
And I was like, no, I'm breathing all right. And so she said, well, then you're crushing it. That's what she said. You're crushing it. And just take Tylenol for the body aches. And if you have shortness of breath, come to the ER.
Now, what telehealth service did you use?
That was
Like it was a local. So, okay.
McLeod telehealth. But it was at like 3 a.m. So there wasn't a wait or anything. I just got online and talked to the first ER doctor that popped up.
Okay. Scary. So he says you're crushing it. So then obviously you tried to sleep, I guess, the rest of that night. And the next day, what happens the next day?
Yeah, I took the Tylenol. Nothing seemed to be getting better. Your symptoms aren't getting better, and your anxiety is just getting worse. And so I was trying to get a test. I was trying to get a test that weekend because I thought that it would be good just to know what I was dealing with. So I filled out the MUSC online survey. MUSC, they don't really have a telehealth. You don't talk to a doctor. You just click on the COVID link and you kind of check the boxes for your symptoms.
Okay.
And then a couple hours later, I got an email that they prescribed me an inhaler. This was the same Friday. So it was like Thursday at 3 a.m. I was with McLeod. And then Friday, I kept getting worse, and I did start to feel that shortness of breath. But the ER when you're feeling sick, and what's going on right now seems like the scariest place in the world, because it's like, if I don't have it, I don't want to go there and expose myself to it. Right. And you can't take anybody with you. You got to go by yourself. So trying to avoid that, I just started looking up all of the doctors I could contact, because I think you don't realize when you get sick that I don't have a primary care doctor that I can call. I just go to urgent care or minute clinic anytime I need something, because I'm generally healthy. So you don't realize that when you get COVID symptoms, you can't just go to those places and walk in with COVID symptoms. They want to funnel all those people to the ER. Right. So your options kind of are to FaceTime a doctor or go to the ER. So I just started looking up all of the doctors that I could telehealth with and see if I can get a test, or if I could get in front of someone that wasn't at the ER. And
so you're just at this point, you're just on a frantic Google search, right? You're just trying to figure it out on your own while you're suffering.
Yeah, I'm just Google searching. My anxiety's up because I'm reading everybody's posting on Facebook how people are dying all over the place. And I'm reading all the symptoms of COVID, and I've got all the symptoms of COVID. Wow. And so I'm just trying to figure out if I have it or not, and what to do about it.
But what led you to MUSC in that survey you spoke about?
Google.
You just happened to find that.
Yeah, I was just Googling free doctors, South Carolina, COVID-19, and the MUSC came up. And I clicked on that.
Tell everybody again where that's at. That's at MUSC's website?
Yeah, I think it's on MUSC's website. We can post the link probably.
Okay.
I can find it in my phone. But I filled out that survey. You don't talk to a doctor. And I got an email with a prescription for an inhaler a couple hours later.
Okay.
I was like, all right, no one's gonna test me. So I just kept taking the Tylenol and doing that Vicks vapor. I breathed in so much Vicks. I'm not sure if it was good for me, but you lose your sense of smell. Yeah. So I don't even know how much. I couldn't even smell it. But
yeah.
Then I started feeling better. Not well enough to like get up and run around the block, but the body aches slowed down, and I started feeling like I could get up and move around and talk. And then I got a call on that Monday morning from, I guess MUSC that doctor had sent for me to have a test up in Florence, because MUSC only does down in Charleston and up in Florence. Okay. And I sort of explained, I'm not well enough to drive to Florence. Is there any other way I can get a test in Myrtle Beach? Are you testing in Myrtle Beach? And that's when they gave me the direct number for the people at Tidelands who were doing the testing.
Okay.
So I called there, and they're doing drive-in testing at this point. And then I kind of had a moment where I was like, I was pretty convinced that I had COVID. Um, and I was like, do I even need a test if they're not going to do anything? I'm already kind of feeling better. But I decided to go. So I called Tidelands.
So
And
let me stop you there. How many days are you suffering at this point before you even are able to find out through all these different ways to get a test at Tidelands after you called MUSC and you called McLeod for telehealth?
it was over a week that I was feeling badly.
Over a
Um,
week. That's crazy.
Over a week that I was feeling badly before anyone called me about having a test.
Okay.
So then they set up the test. It was a drive-through test. It was for a couple days later. So by the time I actually had the test, I was feeling almost recovered by the time I took it. At that point, I was going just to confirm that I have it, and also to give that information to the government, because they're supposed to be counting, how many people are sick.
Yeah.
And keeping a record of what's going on in each county. And I didn't want to not be counted and not help with that information.
Okay. So describe the test.
The test was horrible. It's a nose swab. It's a nasal swab, but I think that they get all the way up into your brain. And they've got to dig around up there it was probably like 20 to 30 seconds.
Wow.
My nose bled a little bit.
Were they wearing masks or anything when they did your test?
Yeah, so when you pull up to Tidelands, I'm assuming most mobile sites are like this. The nurses are all dressed and they're all covered in hospital gowns. Their faces are covered. They've got masks on. They put a mask on you right away. So you just kind of pull your mask down out your car window so they can do the nasal swab. And then,
And when you say Tidelands, you mean down in Myrtle's Inlet?
it was in Surfside.
Surfside? Okay.
Yeah, it was a Surfside location that I went to.
Wow.
You just drive around back and they kind of have it, each car pulls under the tent just one at a time. You kind of wait in line in your car.
How many cars were in line when you went?
It was just my car, and then there was a woman next to me. So there were just two of us.
Okay.
When I was there. They schedule you, though. They give everyone a time slot, so everyone doesn't come at the same time.
Okay, I got it. So you had to schedule. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I had to show up at 11.
So did DHEC ever call you? Did CDC reach out to you, anything like that?
Yeah, so 2 days after so you take the test. They can't tell you right there. They tell you that you will find out in 3 to 10 days. So they give you kind of a big window.
10 days. Wow, okay.
And I was like, all right.
It took you a week to even get the test, right?
Yeah, I was like, hopefully in 10 days I'm going to be better from this, so I'm just not really even going to care. But then I actually got a call 2 days later from DHEC and a doctor at Tidelands confirming that I was positive. Okay. The doctor answered more questions about what, at that point, like I said, I was back on the up from COVID. So I was less worried that I was going to need a hospital and a ventilator. I had been out of the kind of the worst of it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have that many questions besides, how much longer can I expect to have to go to have symptoms and things like that. And then DHEC called afterwards and kind of wanted to go over the isolation period. But by the time I was tested and confirmed positive, my isolation period was over by the time DHEC called me. Right. So they pretty much called to tell me I tested positive, but I was free to go.
Did they say anything else? You have to do anything in the future?
No. The criteria is that it's got to be 7 days after your symptoms and 3 days after you don't have a fever. So 3 days with no fever and 7 days after your symptoms. So it had been way after 7 days of my symptoms. And then I never had a fever. So.
Wow.
That was it. They said I was free to go.
You're feeling better now? What on 0 to 100%, what do you think you're at now?
I mean, I think I'm like 90%. The cough, the aches, and like my taste and smell came back pretty quick. I know some people, I read some people lost their taste and smell for up to 3 weeks. I only lost it for 3 days and it came back, fortunately. I think I kind of had a pretty quick run with it compared to what I'm reading about other people, which is why I say my symptoms were kind of mild. But I'm feeling better now. I think I'm still tired. It kind of feels like your body ran a marathon. It takes a while to come back.
Let me ask you this. What do you think about them opening the beaches back up and trying to open the stores back up?
I I think it's soon. I mean, I know they say that since I've got the antibodies or whatever, even I could go out and probably not catch it, but I'm still being extra careful. Um, I think I think DHEX numbers, it took me, I was almost better before I even got a test. And so I think there's probably a lot of people out there who aren't just Googling and frantically trying to find a test, that are just having it and not being tested.
Right.
Um, and there's not a lot of restrictions for even when you test positive. My doctor friends and my nurse aunt told me, you should stay in and stay isolated until your cough goes away, because it doesn't matter if you've got a fever or not. If you're out there coughing on everything, you can still be spreading it. And there's just a lot that they don't know. So I think opening everything right now is really risky, especially because I don't think they really know exactly how many people in South Carolina have it.
Yeah.
Because they're not testing everyone. And
Crazy.
it's spreading fast. I was doing everything right. I was working from home. I was social distancing. I haven't been out. I was just going to the grocery store and taking normal precautions. I was wiping down everything, and I still got it. So it's super, super easy to catch. And I think, I see people out hanging out on the beach with all their friends, and I'm just like, you don't know where that person that you're hanging out with has been, or what grocery store they've been to, or if they've got it. And so it's pretty risky to open everything back up.
Scary. Well, we're going to remain working from home for the near future, probably at least, well, courts are still closed, so at least until, the end of May. So that's what I'm looking at. And then we'll set specific guidelines. That's going to be a lot different going back to the office, as far as visitors and we're still working on all that. We'll have to figure that out for sure, because we don't want this to flare up a second time with anybody else. But we're definitely glad that you are better. We're glad that you're okay. You're going to have to join us for our lunch meetings so we can figure out what you're eating every day.
Yeah.
Those are a lot easier and lighter topics that we can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have anything else you'd want to tell to anybody who would be worried about this or anything, or any of our old clients or anybody watching this?
Yeah. I mean, COVID-19 is, for most people, is, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I actually had to turn off the news. I didn't watch anything except for Hallmark Channel and Food Network, because sometimes I think the anxiety can be worse than the symptoms. There's a lot of fear spreading out there. Everyone's posting that everyone's going to die. I know it sounds cheesy, but stay positive. And if you are feeling like you have COVID symptoms, talk to your doctor. But you can get through it. It's not a death sentence. Not everybody ends up on a ventilator. And also just be mindful about what you're posting, because this disease is spreading so fast and so many people have it, that somebody that you love is probably going to be affected by COVID. Somebody on your timeline is reading what you're posting and might have symptoms, or is COVID positive. And just what you're putting out there, we kind of got to be there for each other, even though we can't be there for each other.
Right.
So stay positive. And
Smart words.
Yeah.
Well, I will see you tomorrow. This was great. I think you gave some good information and good content. We're glad that you're doing better. And now I'm going to put you to work, because you've been.
I'm ready to get back to work.
Yeah. But guys, I appreciate everybody who's watching this. Like, comment, and share. And this is another edition of the Carolina Justice Report. Again, my name's Justin Lovely, and we will see you another time. Take it easy.
Bye, Justin.